Was that your question also? Sure. So
I don't understand how
okay, do you agree that 10 data points must be below the number? So if you count 10 data points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's 133 is where the 10th data point lines up. So I want to pick like 133.5, so then I know there'll be 10 numbers below 133.5. So I don't want to go to 134, I got these other problem numbers there. Right.
Wouldn't that be inaccurate though? Because you can also say that it's 133.1 and there's still 10 numbers under there.
Right. So the convention is we take the average, Brian. The convention is you take the average of the two numbers. Yeah. That's a good point. You're right. Technically, there are infinite numbers in between 133 and 134. You're right. Now, Q3. Magali, we'll come back to you. You do it the exact same way Jalen did. What does Q3 represent? The 75%. We need a little bit more. Let's say this. If Q1 is the number below which 25% of the data is, what is Q3? The number below which, what percent? Okay, good. 40 observations, 75% of that is? What's 75% of 40? $30, very good. So we need to find a number where 30 data points are below it and 10 are above it. Let's find that number. So what I would do is I would count 10 from the maximum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I get about 138.5. I count 10 numbers from the maximum. Why 10 numbers from the maximum? Because I want 30 below them, so 10 above it. Because there's 40 total numbers. Shunli? It would not necessarily be wrong. No, I don't think it would be wrong. Okay? This cannot be, as long as we are engaged, this will go much easier. If not, we can have this like put people on the spot for a while. Now, we need to now describe the data. How would I, okay, not to worry about the clock. How would I figure out if there are any outliers? Tamar. I cannot hear you. Okay, so tell me what to plug in where. I cannot hear a word you're saying. You'll need to be more engaged. We are using the same data. Yes, we are. I'm asking, are there any outliers in the data? So talk to me about how you would find out. Okay. Yep. Which is what? Which is what? Somebody explain why this is incorrect. What is the IQR in this case, Eddie Paul? I cannot hear you. Q3 minus Q1. In this case, what is that number equal to? 5. Folks, we need to be locked in. If not, we'll be having some difficult quizzes in the future. Tamar, why did we use 136.5 for Q3? Really? Karina, what is Q3? 138.5. What's 1.5 times 5? We should be able to do this in our heads. Khadija, what's 1.5 times 5?
7.
Say it again.
Yeah, 7.5.
7.5, very good. 138.5 plus 7.5, Rogelio. Rogelio?
Yeah.
146, very good. So, Tamar, back to the original question, are there any outliers? No, there are not. Nathan, explain why she's wrong. Why are there any outliers? She said no. Why is she wrong, Nathan?
Because
155 is an outlier because 155 is above 146.
Yes.
This is what we need to see happening tomorrow. And if people cannot do this, I will not have any sympathy. Any questions on how to do this?
No.
Jennifer, and then we'll come to Shilma.
So then what is the number like that's in the 150? So wouldn't that also be an outlier?
148, would that also be an outlier? Yes, it would. 2 outliers.
Oh my God.
Now we need to check the other side. Rogelio makes a very good point. We need to check the other side now. This is what we call a complete response to a problem.
We have a question.
We do. 133.5 minus 7.5 is 133 minus 7, which is 130 minus 4, which is 126. So 123 is an outlier. Are there any other outliers? We need to find out. Let's look back at our data. No, don't see any other ones. Don't see any other ones. Question? Right. So 123 is below? Does that make sense, really? So it's saying which number has to be below 126. So 123 is below 126. No, I said 123 is an outlier, and then I was saying, are there any others? And there are no. Next one is 129. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about skew. Kendra, what is the skew on this data? What is the skew on this data? You don't know. What does skew mean, Kendra? Okay, good. How do I find whether something is skewed right or skewed left or not skewed? What do I do? Yes. Apply that knowledge to this problem. Why is it skewed right? How would you prove that? Okay, there was a way I discussed how to do this a little bit more mathematically. How did I talk about this last week? Let's look at the notes from last week. Do you have those out? Okay, that is definitely a feature of a data set that is skewed right, but how do I know for sure it's skewed right? We had a little bit of a way to quickly calculate this and check. Jennifer, help your classmate out. I hope your classmate's paying attention and writing this down.
You look at whether the cell is longer on the right or the left.
Okay, and how do I check that?
Like since since the graph is like that, you can draw it. Like you can draw that line above it, and you can see the cell is longer on the right side.
That's certainly one thing you can do. There was another way that I said you can check this. you want to check the, Victoria? Go ahead. The distance between the median and the? Precisely. The distance from the median to the minimum is only 12.5. The distance from median to max is 18.5. Certainly, this is skewed right. Certainly, this is skewed right.